Shalom, Israel. We're the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge. Start at the 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command General Gahana. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. Right. So tonight's class is the Lahsawan Qadash class. Right. The Lahsawan Qadash class is a very important class to attend. All right. Because this is where you learn your history. This is where you learn your culture. This is where you learn who you are. All right. Like this is something very important. Like you do not want to take this lightly. All right. You do not want to take it lightly at all. All right. This is a part of your culture. Like it's very important for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to learn our culture, to learn our language. Like our language is a part of our culture, right? Our language is a part of our heritage. It's a part of the traditions that the Lord passed down to us. And that's something very important to understand, all right? And so we're going to get into tonight's lesson. We're going to talk about, we're going to be being introduced into the Assyrian script, all right? All right, let's see this. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, all right? Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Do not forget to do any of that. We're going to look into the modern Hebrew, all right, the modern script, all right, the Assyrian script, very important. And we're going to go over a few things and what it looks like, all right? You guys bear with me, all right? There we go. Sign Christ. So let me see. Let me see if you guys can still see what I'm seeing on the thing, all right? So hopefully you guys can see what's going on. And let me know if you guys can see. Put into the live chat. Don't forget to put your name, city, and state in the live chat, all right? Do not forget, all right? Because we're going to be in the Blue Letter Bible. And I want to point out a few things when it comes to the Assyrian script and what the Assyrian script actually looks like. And I want to go over a few things on a couple things that we've been going over throughout the entire weeks. Like we're going to put everything that we've been taught, and I'm gonna point out certain things that we can actually focus on. I want you guys to notice a few things, all right? I want you guys to notice a few things if you guys haven't noticed them by now, okay? Let's see. Let's see which view is better for y'all. I think that view should be better. Okay, so you guys can see that probably better. So let's see. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. All right. So now, a few things that we've been looking at. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 1. And I want you guys to take a look. So the Blue Letter Bible is it's a very good tool to use, right? A very good tool to use when it comes to learning and studying the Hebrew, because it gives you alternate views, all right? So you see we're in the King James Version Bible, all right? You can see we're in the King James Version Bible, okay? But on Blue Letter Bible, and you can see in Genesis chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, all right? And so what's so cool about Blue Letter Bible, right? You can click on Genesis 1 and 1, and you have a interlinear, you have an interlinear function. Now, this interlinear function allows you to see what the Hebrew actually looks like. So this is the kind of Hebrew that I want you guys to get used to looking at, all right? And so our format of the Hebrew classes are going to slightly change and get a little bit more advanced, all right? And the reason why they're going to get a little more advanced due to the fact that, not advanced as in like studying wise, but what I mean by advanced, I'm meaning technology wise. So, because I want to do everything more so on the computer so you guys can see more of a visual, all right? Like writing on the board is good, But I want to get so you guys can actually see closer on the screen on what's being done. All right, and I'm sure, and let me know and put y'all inputs into as well, so you guys can see what I'm referring to. All right, and so just put okay for that. If it's not dangerous, depending on what website. All right, so now here we go. So here's Genesis chapter 1:1. Okay, and I want to pick out a few things. All right, I want to pick out a few things because I want you guys to pay very close attention to into everything that's stated right here. All right, so you have bara asha, right? And so that literally means in the beginning. Now you can literally click, right? You can click on this right here. That's the Strong's. All right. Now, of course, this is going to give you the pretty much we call it the Yiddish, we call it the fake Hebrew, whichever you want to call it. It'll give you the pronunciation of how it's of the fake, how it's pronounced, how the Jewish man would pronounce it. But it gives you the meaning of each of these words. All right. So it says the meaning of this word is first beginning. All right. You see all of this? Beginning, first, chief, choice, part. Like these are all the meanings of the word. All right. So if we go back, you can look at each one, each word right here, each individual word. All right. You see how it is? So now let's go back up. So now I want you guys to pay close attention. It says Bara'asha, Bara'a, Alahayim, A, Hashemayim, Wa'aratasa. All right. And so let's go over the alphabet real quick if you guys can see. Let me see if we can expand this chart. Mm-hmm. Let's see. There we go. So here's the letters of the alphabet right here. All right. So this is what your eye looks like. All right. Right here. This is your eye. This is what your eye is going to look like in the Assyrian script. So this is what the Assyrian alphabet is going to look like. Now, don't pay too much. Do not pay any attention to what's at the bottom here. All right. You don't have to pay any attention to that because we're going to give you the actual pronunciation of the Hebrew. All right. Now, the reason why this is the introduction to the Assyrian script or the introduction to the way the modern script is written, because when in most Bibles speaking in Hebrew, this is what it's going to look like. All right. This is what the Hebrew is actually going to look like. Okay. It's not going to really look like how it used to. So let's even go to, because it's not going to look like this. So let's say Hebrew, let's say Paleo Hebrew. We're going to look at Paleo Hebrew, right? Give you an example of what I'm saying. Perfect. See this right here. Copy this. Let me see if I can find a bigger chart for y'all. So if you guys can see right here, this is what the ancient actually looks like. See if I can make this a little bigger so you guys can see. Since it's a separate tab, it It should not affect it as much. So you guys see right here? So this is what the paleo looks like. So this is your I, this is your ba, this is your ga, this is what your da would look like. This is your ha, this is your wa, this is your za, this is your cha, this is your ta, this is your ya, this is your ka, this is your la, this is your ma, this is your na, this is your sa, this is your I, this is your pa, this is your taza, this is your qua, this is your ra, this is your sha, and then this is your tha. Now, if you pay very close attention to this, just like we were looking at this, right? This is the same thing that we were just looking at before. This is exactly what it looks like as well right here, all right? But in the Assyrian. So if we go back, you can actually see the characters, right? You can see the Assyrian script right underneath each Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, or each letter within that alphabet. Its correspondence. So this I right here is the Paleo, and it corresponds with the Assyrian script right here. This is what the I would look like. Then this right here, you see this Ba in the Paleo? This is what your Ba is going to look like in the Assyrian. You see this Ga that's in the Paleo or in the ancient script? This is what your Ga looks like in the Assyrian script, in the modern script, right? This is what your Da looks like. It's triangular, right? Well, this is what your Da looks like in the Assyrian script. Now, we're going to have to get very familiar with the ancient script due to the fact that most of our records now, if you want to read our records and understand our records, you're going to have to know the Hebrew. And specifically, you're going to have to learn the modern script, or the Assyrian script that we call it. We don't really like the Assyrian script back here as much as we love the Paleo script, because that's more so our culture and more so our heritage. But no thanks to our oppressor, and no thanks of the devil that the Bible speaks of, which is our oppressor, we have to learn the Assyrian script, all right? So this is what the Da looks like in the Assyrian. This is what your Ha looks like, right? In the Paleo, this is the correspondence of the Ha on what it looks like in the Assyrian. This is your this is what your Wa would look like in the remotely. This is what your Wa would look like in the Paleo. Well, this is the correspondence of what your Wa would look like in the Assyrian. All right. This is what your Za would look like, right? In the Paleo, roughly it'd be more so like a Z. It will really actually look like a Z. But this is what it would look like, and this is what your Za would look like in the Assyrian. Then you have your Cha right there. You have your Cha. That's what your Cha will remotely look like. This is what your Cha, see right here at the bottom? That's the correspondence of your Cha in Hebrew. Then you have your Ta. You see what your Ta looks like? Well, this is the correspondence of what your Ta would look like in the Assyrian. Then you have your Ya. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. This is your Ya. All right. This is what your Ya looks like within the Assyrian. Now, if anyone's in class, make sure you put your name, city, and state for attendance, all right? Make sure you put your name, city, and state for attendance. Don't forget, make sure you please sign in for name, city, and state for attendance, all right? You don't want to watch class and not get the credit for it, all right? Also, don't forget to share, like, share, and subscribe. Share these classes, all right? Share these classes to your friends, family, all right, whatever the case may be. Don't forget, because this is something we have to learn. All right, this is a part of our culture. This is what's going to save our lives. You may not realize it now, but this is what's going to save our lives in the future. So this is what your Ya looks like right here. This is what your Ya looks like. This is the correspondence for your Ya. Then you have your Ka, right? This is what your Ka will mostly look like in the Paleo. All right. Well, this is right here. This is your Ka. All right. This is your Ka. This is the correspondence of your Ka in the Assyrian. Then you have your La, right? Then you have your La. This is what your La would look like in the Paleo. This is the correspondence of your La, all right, in the Assyrian. Just in case if you guys can see, I think that's better. All right. This is what your La looks like in the Paleo. This is your La in the Assyrian. This is what your Ma would look like in the Paleo. This is what your Ma would look like in the Assyrian. All right. Then you have your La. All right. It's like your Na. So like this is what your Na would look like in the Paleo. This is the correspondence of your Na in the Assyrian. This is what your Sa would look like in the Paleo. This is what your Sa would look like in the Assyrian. This is the letter I. This is what your letter I would look like in the Paleo. All right. This would be your letter I in the Assyrian. All right. This is your Pa. This is your Pa in the Paleo. All right. This is what your Pa would look like in the Assyrian. All right. You have your Tazah in the Paleo. You see right here, this is what your Tazah looks like. This is your Tazah, right, in the Paleo. This is what your Tazah would look like in the Assyrian. And this is your Kwa, right? This is what your Kwa would look like in the Paleo. This is what your Kwa would look like in the Assyrian. This is your Ra. This is what your Ra would look like, all right, in the Paleo. This is what your Ra would look like in the Assyrian. Then you have your Sa, all right? This is your Sa in the Paleo. This is what your Sa, your Sha would look like in the Paleo. This is what your Sha would look like in the Assyrian. You guys roughly see? And this is what your Tha, this is your Tha. This is what your Tha looks like. All right, this is what your Tha looks like in the Paleo. And this is what your Tha would look like in the Assyrian. All right. And so, all right. And here's a better look at it. All right. Here's a better look as well. All right. From right to left. Remember, Hebrew is written from right to left. So you have your Ah, your Ba, your Ga, your Da, your Ha, your Wa, your Za, your Ha, your Ta, your Ya, your Ka, your La. All right. Your Ka, so like this is your La. So, oh, perfect. This is perfect. This brought up a good point right here. This is your Ya, then your Ka. This is the Ka that you'll see in front of a word. All right. So in any Hebrew word, this is the Ka that, because that's what we're going to be going over today too. This is the Ka right here. You see this Ka? This is what your Ka looks like in the Assyrian. But this Ka is only found in front of words in the Hebrew. Then you have another Ka. This is a Ka as well. So you have two Kas. All right. There are a few letters in our alphabet that have this very same concept in the Assyrian. Your Kas have that same concept. Your Mas have that same concept. Your Nas have the same concept. Your Pas have that same concept. And your Tazah has that same concept of having two Tazahs. And they're meant for something. So you have your Ka. This is the letter Ka, and you'll see this in front of a word or in the middle of a word. But you see this Ka right here? This Ka is only found at the end of a word. So no matter what word you're writing within the Hebrew, and no matter what word you're trying to spell out, this Ka right here is only going to be found at the end of the word. All right. This is the only Ka that's going to be found at the end of the word. All right. This is the Ka. You're only going to see a Ka at the end of the word. This is in the beginning or the middle. This is the Ka that you'll see in the beginning or the middle or the middle. This is the Ka that you'll see at the at the end. This is your La. Here you go. Here's your Ma. This is the Ma that you'll see in front or in the middle of a word. All right, or just throughout the word. All right. Then this is the Ma that's only found at the end of a word. All right. Everybody get it so far? If you guys have any questions too, don't forget to do not forget to put it in your put it in the live chat. All right. All right, Bubba Prashad, do not forget to put it in the live chat. If you have any questions, don't forget to put your name, city, and state as well. All right, so you see this Ma right here? This is what your Ma looks like in the beginning, or in the middle of a word, or just throughout the word in general. Then this is the Ma that you'll only see at the end of a word. right? This is the only ma that you'll see at the end of the word. Then you have your na. You have your na right here. So this is what your na looks like, all right? And you'll see this is the na, all right? This is the na that you see right here, all right? You'll see that in the beginning of a word or throughout the word itself or the middle, whatever the case may be. And this is the na, all right? This is the na that you'll see, all right, at the end of the word, all right, whichever it is. All right. You guys are tracking? Let's see. Then you have your sa. This is what your sa looks like. Then you have your I. This is what your I looks like. Then you have your pa. All right. Now you have your pa. This is what your pa looks like. But this is the pa that goes in the front of the word or throughout the word itself, in the middle, whatever the case may be. Then you have the pa, all right? Then you have the pa that goes at the end of a word. So this is the pa that you'll see at the end of the word. This is the pa that you'll see throughout the word. This is the pa that you'll see at the end of the word. Then you have your tazah. All right. Here's your tazah. Your tazah. All right. This is the tazah you'll see in the front of the word or in the middle of the word or throughout the word. And this is the tazah that you'll see at the end of the word. Tazah. All right. Your tazah. Then you have your kwa. This is what your kwa looks like. Then your ra. Then your sha. And then your tha. So this is what their Assyrian script looks like. And make sure you put this into your notes, all right? Put what these symbols look like in your notes, all right? You want to get familiar with what they look like. Now this pronounced as a, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, kha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, sha, and tha. All right. So now, let's see. So now let's go back to the Blue Letter Bible. So here we go. So you have Bara'ashap, Bara'a, Alahayim, A, Hashemayim, Wa'af, Ha'aratasa. All right. And so this is what the Assyrian script will look like. And we have to get familiar with it. And so now we're going to go over some key points here. So you see this word right here? This is your A. You can actually click on the actual word itself, and you'll see what I'm talking about right here. Let's see something. Let's see what the Facebook looks like. Let me zoom in for you guys so we can see this. So you have your A, right? Now, of course, we were going over our A not too long ago, right? And it says a Hebrew particle direct object marker. So the word A, it says direct object marker. So a direct object, right? This allows you to mark the direct object in the sentence, all right? That's the purpose of the A. It's pronounced as A, right? This is your A, and then this is your tha. Remember, this is what your A looks like in the Assyrian, and this is what your tha looks like in the Assyrian. And when you put that together, it's pronounced as A, all right? Your A, right? And so your A is a direct object marker, meaning if we go into the sentence, right? And you see how it says bara'ashya, bara'a, alahayim, ah, right? This is allowing you, this direct object is, so let me explain a direct object. Okay. Okay, a direct object, of course, is the opposite of an indirect object. Okay, hopefully you guys can understand it based off of that. Meaning, this direct object, meaning this is what it is, right? A direct object is usually a person, place, or thing, right? That's usually what a direct object is. It's usually a person, place, or thing, all right? And an indirect object is just, it could be anything, right? It could be anything. It's not direct. It's not like, this is not the stone. It's just a regular stone. So a direct, so for an example, a direct object, it says the stone, right? The stone. The stone, meaning this is not just any kind of stone, or this is not any kind of rock. This is the rock. This is the stone. It can be whatever stone it's for. This is the stone. That's now a direct object. And then you have an indirect object just saying stone, because it's not the stone, it's just some regular stone. It's not a specific stone. So a direct object also specifies on this is something specific, all right? And so now a direct object has to be known in the sentence, because we need to know what the verb is doing to each object, all right? It doesn't really matter. Okay, in Hebrew it matters because sentences can be written in reverse but mean the very same thing, all right? And that's because we have direct object markers. We have something to identify direct objects with, right? And this is how we identify a direct object within a sentence, is by using the word "a" before the actual direct object itself. And so now for an example, right? You have bara'asha. All right, we know what bara'asha means, right? Right? Bara'asha. Right? What does bara'asha mean? In the beginning. That's literally how you say that's Genesis. All right, in the Hebrew. Bara'asha, in the beginning. Genesis literally means in the beginning. So you have bara'asha, bara'a. Here we go. So bara'a. Let's see what bara'a means, create. So now this is, what kind of word is this? This is a verb. It says, see this right here? This is a verb. Bara'a, bara'a, bara'a. This is a verb. Now direct objects allows you to know what this verb is used. Okay, so when you're making a sentence or creating a sentence, remember, we're kind of going over everything we already learned, but in a nutshell, but we're also being introduced in the Assyrian script. I want you guys, the purpose of this class is to get you used to looking at the Assyrian script in the modern script. That's the point of this class, right? And the point of this class is also to have a more of a close-up visual electronically, or digitally, or more, I guess you could say, more up-to-date way of seeing how the Hebrew is written and how it's typed out, how it's typed up, how it looks, all right? Because this is something that needs to be done, because we're going to be reading scripts that look just like this, all right? Any Hebrew Bible that you decide to grab up and get for yourself, okay? I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. Any Hebrew Bible that you buy to get to yourself, this is the script that you're going to see. That's why we're going over this script, because this is the script that you're going to see. All right. So you have bara'ash. Get this out of here. So bara'ash, bara'ah. This is a verb. Okay. So a verb. And remember, we were just talking about this direct object right here, this direct object marker. Direct object marker. It identifies the direct object in the sentence. All right. And so now, the reason why this is okay, back to the verb. We need to know what the verb is doing what to what, because we need to know what's being created, right? We need to know what's being created. Because you see this right here, it says alahayim. If you look at what alahayim looks like, alahayim literally means, it's a noun. Let's see. This translates to God, which also means power. All right. This is referring to God, right? So when you use the word Alahayim, Alahayim is literally referring to the Most High, referring to God, and sometimes it can be referring to the angels. And so we need to know this. See, this Bara'ah means create. We need to know what in the beginning, because remember, Bara'ashya means in the beginning, Bara'ah created or create. Alahayim. We need to know what's being created, right? Because this is a noun, right? But we need to know what's being created. Is God being created in this sentence? Like, what's being created? Well, this is the point of af right here. You see your ah and your tha, ah. It lets you know what, this is the direct object, meaning this lets you know what's being created. So here we go. It says ha shemayim, right there. Ha shemayim. So now, when you look up this word right here, you see this ha. This ha means something. Let me see. May not. All right. So you see this ha? I clicked on it to see if I can get it. So you see that ha right there? Now ha is a definite article. Right? This ha means something. A definite article meaning this is what made this a direct object. And that is the. Ha means the, by the way. All right. So that's why when you see right here, you see that right there? The. That ha means the. All right. Then you have Shemayim. Of course, we know Shemayim means heaven. Shemayim means heaven. Shemayim, which is a noun, which means heaven. And so you have the heaven. So this is like this is a exact translation, right, of what's going on. Okay, Facebook is good still. Sorry, Christ. YouTube is still up. All right. So now you see this right here, your ha shemayim. All right, your shemayim. That ha, all right, that ha shemayim right here. This just created that ha being in front of that shemayim. This made this right here a direct object. That's why when you click on ha shemayim, right, and you click on the word that the being in front of shemayim make this a definite article, which would make this entire word right here, Hashemayim, a direct object. So now you know this Hashemayim, this is the direct object. This is what the verb is creating. Now we know because the because remember, this right here, if you do not know, this right here will always be in front of the direct object. It will never be after direct object. It'll never be far away from the direct object. It's going to be always right in front of the direct object on what the verb is doing too, because this verb is an action. And there's an action being done to something within this sentence that we are creating. And so because there's an action that's being done within this sentence that we are creating, we need to know what's being done. What action is being done? We know that it's creating, because this word bara'ah means to what? It means created, to create. Okay? And then we know the heavens is being created, because now we have Hashemayim, meaning the heaven. That ha, definite article, which makes this, right, definite article, which makes this a direct object. That's why the af is right in front of the direct object, because we know bara'ah meaning create. This is what's being created. Hashemayim. Then it says wa'ah. Right? Now we have wa'ah. Here we go. See that wa right there? All right. This is a Hebrew conjunction. Right? This is a Hebrew conjunction. Now, can anybody tell me how do we conjoin sentence? how do we conjoin something to a sentence, right? Hebrew conjunction. So this Y meaning it's conjoining something. It's a conjunction, right? Conjunctions, right? Connect words, phrases, sentences, or paragraphs. The most common conjunctions in English are and, or, but, and for. So this Y right here, even though the majority of the time that Y will mean, here you go, I didn't mean to do it, and will mostly mean and in most cases, right? But it is not limited to. It is not limited to. When you're translating a sentence in Hebrew, you want to know what a conjunction is. Look up speech of conjunction. This is why Blue Letter Bible is so good to use, because it allows you to understand the fundamentals of this, all right? Don't forget to put your name, city, and state, please. Babu Kushad, do not forget to put your name, city, and state. And so it allows you to really get down to the essence of the breakdown of what the sentence actually means. So now we can understand Hebrew just a little bit more. So remember, conjunctions connect words, phrases, sentences, or paragraphs. The most common conjunctions in English are and, or, but, and for. So now we know the letter Y is not limited, right? That Y right there is not limited to just and alone. In most cases, it will mean and. Then you have this ah. And you have that ah. All right, let's get that ah. There you go. Here's this ah again. Direct object marker. All right. A direct object marker. Negative particles are terms that negate some aspects of a sentence, either an individual word or an entire phrase. So, to give you what a direct object marker is, like I broke down before, it really allows you to know the object, the specific object that's being, that the verb is having an action on. All right. And so, and that's all that I was saying, not to get so scientific-y and all, not too, uh, you know, not too, not too crazy. This is not a college crash course in a way. It can be though, but not yet, not yet. So you have your and your thigh, your ah, right? That's your direct object marker. This is how we identify the direct object. So this is saying and, this is just saying and, because off doesn't have like a definition. It's really how we have a direct object marker. And it's also you have a Hebrew conjunction, which is the word and, right, in this case. Then you have ha arataza. Let's click on ha arataza. So you have arataza, right? Let's go to this the. Once again, you see that ha right there? It does mean the. This is translating the sentence for us too. The. Once again, a definite article. All right, the article is used to make definite or draw attention to nouns and other substantives. The article is either prefixed or suffixed to the word it modifies. All right, in this case, it's a suffix. All right, so like it did not mean to do that. This is how we know this has now become a direct object. That definite article, which is the word the, this is what your tha looks like. This is what your ha looks like in Hebrew, but this is the in the English. All right, this is your tha in the English. Because of so, now we know that this is a direct object. This has become a direct object. And we know for sure this is a direct object because you see this off right here? It's in front. It's before this word right here. All right. Then you have arataza. All right, you have arataza. All right, arataza. Of course, right here, you got the meaning of it, earth. All right, earth. Click on it. Speech noun, arataza, meaning earth. Let's go to the Strongs real quick. This is what Arataza looks. This is the definition: land or earth, earth, whole earth, like earth, not world, but earth. All right, earth, referring to some land, something on the ground. All right. So Arataza. So now we have Ha Arataza. All right, Ha Arataza. Now you see this Taza? You see that Taza right there? Let's see. Can I highlight this? See that Taza right there? Remember how we were going over it? This is a Taza that you'll see at the end of a word. This is the Taza that you'll see at the end of the word. All right? That's the Taza that you'll see at the end of the word. That's why it's at the end. That's why it looks like that. It doesn't look like your regular Taza like a Taza would look like right there. It doesn't look like your regular Taza how it looks right there. It looks like this Taza right there because it's at the end of the word. So Ha Arataza. Right. So now you see this. Bara'asha, Bara'a, Alahayim, Ah Hashemayim, Arataza. Wa'ah Ha'arataza. So now, let's see. Let's go back to 100% real quick. So let's get something else as well. Now, let's get something a little more that has a little more, I guess you could say, meat to it, right? So now we're in Nehemiah 13:1, right? Nehemiah chapter 13:1. Now the reason why I'm here in Nehemiah chapter 13 because this is where we left off in the Sabbath service, all right? In the Sabbath service, all right. If you guys come to the Sabbath, all right, we're usually in Nehemiah, all right. Also, if you're tuning in into the Hebrew class, don't forget to put your name, city, and state, all right? If you're tuning in the Hebrew class, don't forget to put your name, city, and state. Do not forget. All right, do not forget. Babu Kushah. Name, city, and state. All right. So now, let's get used to this. So see that right there? So this is what your ba would look like in the Assyrian. So here you go. So that ba is usually a preposition. Speech a preposition. So let's see what a preposition is. All right. A preposition introduces a phrase that describes another word, concept within a sentence, usually a noun or a verb. Prepositions show direction, location, or time, or introduce an object. They are usually followed by an object, a noun, phrase, or pronoun. All right. You guys understand that? And so what word would usually be ba all right, which is a preposition. It would be in. Sometimes it can be on, all right. Sometimes it can be on, but usually, all right, like you see how it says on that day, it can also be in that day. So ba can either be in or on, depending on the context, because it's a preposition, all right. There is an actual word for on or to be upon something in the Hebrew, all right. But depending how things are used, all right, depending on how you want to shorten the sentence or how you want to write out the sentence, or depending what you're trying to say, all right, you can use this preposition by, meaning in or on at times. It's just to, like before, just like it was stating before. It's a preposition to introduce time, all right? Prepositions show direction, location, or time, or introduce an object, all right? And so you have your ba, you have by your wum. So now you have your wum, all right? Here you go, your wum. If you did not know, your wum means day, all right? Meaning day. Now, why did I bring this scripture up? First, I want you guys to get used to looking at the Assyrian. This is what the Assyrian looks like. Like, for instance, this is your ba in the Assyrian. This is what your ya looks like. This is your wa. This is your ma. Then you have your ha. This is what your ha's look like. This is your wa. This is your a. This is your na. This is your qua. This is your ra. This is your a. This is your ba. This is your sa. This is your pa. This is your ra. This is your ma. This is your sha. This is your ha. See again, ba. This is your a. This is your za. This is your na. This is your ya. Now you see this right here. This is your ha. This is your I. This is your ma. Like pay very close attention to what's going on here. See this? This is your wa. This is your na. This is your ma. This is your taza. This is your a. Like pay very close attention. Like these words, these letters, you want to get very familiar with. All right. So back here you have your ya, your wa, and your ma. So I want to see if I can highlight this right here. You see that right there? That's your ma. That's what your ma looks like. And so you see how this ma is at the end, right? Is in the back of a word. At the end of a word, right? Well, here you go. This is the ma that I was referring to. That's at the back or at the end of a word. You see how this is a ma, this is the ma that you'll see in front. This is the ma that you'll only see at the end. All right, so if we go back, you see how, is there a better one? You see how you see that ma in front? You see how you see that ma like in the middle of the word? You see how that ma is like that's throughout the word, right? These are the ma's that you will see within our words. You see how they're written differently, right? That are in the middle. But the ma that you see right here that's highlighted, right? That ma is written that way to identify that this is at the end of the word. This lets you know that it's a suffix or it's at the end of the word. That's the purpose of it right there, all right? So pay very close attention to those small details, all right? So ba yawam, ba yawam, ba yawam, all right? Ba yawam, ba yawam, all right? Meaning day. So this is hawa'a. So this is ha. So this word together and conjoined together is hawa. All right. If we go back, you see how it says. Hold on. Let's go back. So you see how this says ha, hawa'a, ha, hawa'a. All right. The root of this is hawa'a, which also means that. Ha hawa'a lets you know that this means exactly that. All right? Meaning that right here. So this word means that. Right? That ha in front of that is a preposition. All right? It's a preposition. It's like a definite article. I'm going to say it's a prefix, letting you know that it means that. So that's why when it says on that day, so if you want to say on that day in the Hebrew, bayawam ha hawa'a, this is literally saying on that day. Now you see how it's kind of written backwards? Like I want you guys to pay very close attention on how Hebrew is written. Like it's very important to understand how Hebrew is written because it's not like English. Like we don't create our sentences just like how English sentences are created. Our language isn't meant for that type of structure. All right, it's not like that. Okay, it's not what you think it is. So bayawam, bayawam, ha ha wa ah. It's like sometimes we talk in a backwards way, right? Now remember, on that day, bayawam, ha ha wa ah. You can put ha ha wa ah first bayawam, and it'll still mean on that day. Okay, it'll still mean that. So just to let you know, it doesn't really matter. That's why throughout a sentence, there should be an off there letting you know if in this case there's no direct object being used, so you don't need it. Okay. But to go over, this is what your ha looks like. This is your wa, and this is your ah. Now yeah, now kara. So you have the word nakara. The root word is kara. Let's find out what kara means. So kara means to call out, to recite, to read. All right. 1 second. All right, making sure. Okay, so to call out, recite, read. All right, and so go back. On that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, right? And therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever. And so when you see this na korah, right? That na in front of there, So here we go. So I want you guys to look at the definition of perfect qatar. Generally designates a completed action or a situation that is viewed as a single event. Perfects are generally translated as simple past, he ran, or as past perfects, he has run. But they may also be translated as presents or futures. The meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place than with when it took place, right? And so the perfect is most often treated as a past because it is easier to think of a past event as complete than it is to think of a present or future one as complete. And so now, the reason why I brought that up, because I want you guys to pay very close attention to this part, right? You see that na qara'a, that this qara is has been conjugated in the future tense. All right. That na is a future tense, is a future tense conjugation. So you have the word qara, meaning to call, to recite, read, all that good stuff, right? And so you have na qara, that na in front of that qara has been made into the future tense, right? That's why I wanted you to read this right here, right? Because this is also, let's see, we're going to break this down. You have this third person right here. But see, we read the perfect because it says right here, let's read what a perfect qatal is. Right? This is what a perfect qatal is. Generally designates a completed action or a situation that is viewed as a single event. So meaning this sentence that's being structured right now was a completed action as a single event. Perfects are generally translated as simple past, like he ran, or as past perfects, he has run. All right. But they may also be translated as present or future. So let's remember these past events that were done could also be translated as present or futures. The meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place, right, than with when it took place. So it's not necessarily when it took place if it's translated in the past, future, or present. It's really how it went down. Like this is how you know it's a black man's book. Like this is how you know it's Black, Hispanic, and Native American, because it's not really, we don't really care if it's happening now or it's happening in the past or the future. That's not really what that's for. And all, like your conjugations isn't necessarily if it's being done in the past or the future or the present. In this case, it's only conjugated that way just so we can get the story. We all know how we are. We love how we want to know the details of the story. We kind of want to know what actually really went down to make sure what's going on. So it's being translated this way. The meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place than with when it took place. So it's really how it took place and not when it took place. So it could be done in the past. So that's why when you read it in the English, let me exit this out. When you read it in the English, on that day they read. This is past though, right? That read right there is pronounced as read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people. So this is past. It's written and translated in the English as a past event. But when you're speaking in the Hebrew, right, that na right there has now conjugated this word qara with meaning in that sentence, they read, right? Read or call, qara meaning call or recite. In this case, it's translated in the English as read, all right? That na right here conjugated that verb in the future tense. But in the English, it's translated in the past tense. Well, here's the reason why. Because this is how it went down. It's more so how it went down. All right. Because how it went down, where am I? Hold on. Because remember, it says the meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place than with when it took place. All right. Well, let me read from the beginning. Perfects are generally translated as simple past, he ran, or as past perfects, he has run. But they may also be translated as presents or futures. That's why this is translated as a future. The meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place than when it took place. So remember, this is Nehemiah, right? So let's go back to let's go back. And let's see what third person means. The third person form of a term refers to a person or things other than the writer, speaker, and the person being addressed by the writer and speaker. All right. And so the third person form of a term refers to a persons or things other than the writer, speaker, and the person being addressed by the writer or speaker. So now remember, this is also, now we know this is in third person, meaning when Nehemiah, it says on that day they read in the book of Moses. So why is it saying in the past tense right here, read, even though here it's conjugated in the future tense, right? Because that na is conjugated in the what? Future tense for we, right? That's the future, that's the conjugation for the future tense as we, right? We went over the future tense. You guys remember? You guys remember the future tense? We went over the future tense. You guys remember, right? You guys remember we went over the future tense. The future tense, when it comes to using the word we, all right, we, you put a na in the front of the verb, right? So this quara right here, this is quara, right? Quara, right? Meaning to call or to recite. Then you have na, right? Now, of course, how it was done, even though it is in the past tense, it's happened in the past, when you read it in the Hebrew, is giving you the context within third person. So this is pretty much saying that we read, right? Even though it says they read, because the writer is saying they read, all right? But if you put it in saying Nehemiah and them, this is as if Nehemiah is speaking as well. So he's like, we read out of the book of the law because he was there. He was there, or we were going to read in the book of the law, and it's stated. That's why it says right here, like it. Once again, when you look at the perfect qatal, all right, that's why it says generally designates a completed action or a situation that is viewed as a single event. Perfects are generally translated as simple past. He ran, or or as past perfects. He has run. But they may also be translated as presents or futures. All right. The meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place than when it took place. The perfect is most often treated as a past because it is easier to think of a past event as complete than it is to think of a present or future one as complete. Meaning, it's only translated in the past because it's easier to understand it that way. Because if you were reading it as if it's done in the present, you would think that it's happening right now. If it's being written as in the future, you would think that it hasn't happened yet. So it's translated in the past tense, right? It's translated in the past tense because there's no confusion that this is happening in the past. But when you actually read the actual records in the Hebrew, now Korah, this lets you know that this is something that's this is going to happen in the future, but it already happened. Meaning, at this time, let's say on that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people. Meaning, Nehemiah and the priests and prophets of the Lord, they were getting ready to pretty much read in the audience, and therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabites, like it should not come into the congregation of God forever. Now, this has already happened thousands of years ago. But let's say if you're reading in the Hebrew, letting you know that this is Nehemiah saying that this is what was going on right then and there. We were prepared, pretty much. We are getting ready. Remember, conjugated in the future tense, based off of the subject pronoun we or anak nawa. That's why that na is in front of the. That's why that na is in front of the word or the verb kara. That's why it's like that. That's why it's there. All right. That's why it's like that. Does everybody kind of understand where that's coming from? It's kind of complicated. I understand, right? But I want you guys to. But the purpose of this, I'm going over that just to give you an example of what we went over in class last week. Because last week in class we went over the future tense. So I wanted to get an example of what the future tense looks like, and also to introduce the Assyrian script and what it looks like. Here you go. Ba sapar. This is your ba, meaning the, right? In this case, it's used as a preposition as usual, meaning in. Then you have sapar, which means book. Let's look at the definition of sapar. Book. What sapar mean? Definition 2, right? Definition 2, missive, document, writing, book. Missive, letter of instruction, written order, commission, request, written decree, legal document. All right? Like all these things, sapar can be used for. Book, scroll, book of prophecies, genealogical register, law book, book of poems, book of kings, sapar, record book of the Most High. Like these are the different meanings of what this one word can mean. Right? So sapar, a written document, sapar. So if we go back, Basapar, Mashah. We know what Mashah means, right? Moses. Mashah means Moses. Now you see how it says of Moses, right? That of is implied. In the Hebrew, not every word translates into Hebrew, but also our language, there's no necessity of using those words all the time. All right? It's not always necessary. Mashah, Moses. You got Azabia. It's like Azania. It's like Azania. So you have Azania. So you have Ba Azania. Right? So we know Ba. So we know Ba is that preposition meaning in. Right? Then you have Azania. So let's get Azan. Let's get what Azan means. Azan. Ear as part of the body. Ear as organ of hearing. Subjective, to uncover the ear to reveal the receiver of divine revelation. So in this context, Azan is being used in context of the audience because they're the ones receiving the information. So as you would use Azan, right? And that Azania, that ya right there, all right? It's a common noun. All right. So let's say it's a common noun. And so you have ba azanya. So that azan right there, all right, is the audience. So on that day, let me see. On that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people. So the audience, that's your azania. All right. Let me double check something real quick. There we go. So that's that ya, right? That ya, let me see. Just like here. Here we go. Okay. So azanya. Then you have ha'aim. There you go. Once again, you see that ha right there. So you see how it says of the people, right? We know ha means the. It's a definite article. All right. Then you have I'm. I'm means people. I'm means people. It's a common noun. I'm means people. All right. Then you have namataza. All right. You have mataza. Mataza'a. Slaki mataza'a. Right. You have mataza'a. So mataza'a meaning found or find. Mataza'a. Right? So wa na mataza'a. Now once again, that wa, we know what that wa means, right? And we know it's a conjunction. What's a conjunction? Conjunctions connect words, phrases, sentences, or paragraphs. The most common conjunctions in English are and, or, but, and for. Now remember, all right, why is not just limited to and alone at times, even though in this case, in most cases, it will be and. But do not be surprised if one sentence is translated with an or, but, or for, but you only see a while there. Do not be surprised. Then you have mataza'a. So you have mataza or mataza'a, all right, mataza'a, mataza, meaning to find, secure, acquire, to find, meaning what is lost, all right. So we go back, like here, let's go back to wana mataza'a. You have wana mataza'a right there. So now we know and was found. Now you see that now right there, right? Now remember, this is a perfect quital again. Remember what that perfect quital means. Generally designates as a completed action or a situation that is viewed as a single event. Right? Perfect are generally translated as simple past. He ran, or as past perfects. He has run. But they may also be translated as present or futures. The meaning of the perfect, therefore, has more to do with how an action took place than with when it took place. So perfects are usually written or translated. It is mostly translated in past for no confusion, but it can easily be done. But it can be easily talking about something that was happening presently, or something that was going to happen in the future, but it's already done. It's already complete. That's the purpose of a perfect. All right. So that's why you see that na, because it is translated that. So you have the verb mataza, meaning to find. Mataza'a, okay, is definitely translated. I mean, that means to find. This is a verb. That na in front of the mataza'a conjugates this verb mataza'a into the future tense. So that na in front of the verb mataza'a has now conjugated the verb mataza'a in the future tense, even though this is a past event. This is called a perfect, right? This is called a perfect because this is taking place. In this case, this is going to be taking place in the future, right? And it did presently happen, but now it's in the past, all right? All right. So you have kathawab. You have thawab. Comes from the verb kathab. What does it mean? Kathab. Kathab meaning to write, record, to enroll, to write, inscribe, engrave, write, in, write on. So if we go back, let's go back to kathab. What's there in Nehemiah 13:1? You have kathab. This is your ka in the Assyrian. This is what it looks like. This is what your tha looks like in the Assyrian. This is what your wa looks like in the Assyrian. This is what your ba looks like in the Assyrian. So you see that wa right there. That wa actually plays a very important part. Remember that wa is a conjugation. Kathab. That wa is a conjugation. This is now in the present tense. Even though this has happened in the past, it's conjugated in the present tense. Now, we went over the present tense, but let's go over this. Usually, that wa can be found between the first and second letter. So that wa can easily be put there. Like kathawa, that wa could easily be put right there, right? And kathawa, meaning in the present tense, it was writing it because this is currently happening. In the future, right? This is a perfect sentence. This is a perfect, meaning it's done in the past, but how it's being done is being described in this sentence. Like that's why that's why blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans were such a smart people and were so intelligent because the way we structured our sentences was not just based on past, future, and present. Our structure of our language also allowed us to explain what was actually going on in detail on what's being taught, right? And so now everyone knows that this was a future event to happen, right? And it's also letting you know what's actually being done, right, presently when this future event is happening, even though this is being done in the past, all right? So you have kathawa. That wa could be put between the first and second letter. But in some cases, in most cases, sometimes you'll see throughout the Bible that the wa is not put between the first and second letter. Sometimes it can be put between those last two letters right here. All right. So keep that in mind. that this is a present tense conjugation. Bawa, bawa, meaning therein, right? Bawa, meaning therein, right? So bawa meaning therein. You guys know what therein means? You know, ba is a preposition, and wa is a what? In this case, wa. In this case, because wa is not okay. So this is very good. So you see how that wa is not in front, meaning this wa is not a conjugation, is not a conjunction. All right, it's a pronominal at this point. Pronominal suffixes refer to a persons or things and can be attached to nouns, verbs, prepositions, participles, infinitives, even some particles. A pronominal suffix nearly always functions as either a personal pronoun, for example, I or me, all right, in English, or a possessive pronoun, for example, mine or mine in English, all right? So for an example, that's what a pronominal suffix is. In this case, that pronominal hold on, slide. So now when you go to bawa, it means therein. And so, get a definition of therein real quick to explain everything. Therein meaning, hold on. So therein, definition, in or into that place, time, or thing in that particular or respect, right? In or into that place. And so when we go back to the English, it says, and therein was found written, meaning this is therein. In that particular perspective, this is talking about in the book. So bawa is used as therein because it's also referring to, that's why that wa is there, by the way. That wa is there for that reason, because it's a pronominal. All right, that wa is there because the pronominal lets you know. Pronominal suffix refer to a persons or things and can be attached to nouns, verbs, prepositions, participles, infinitives, even some particles. A pronominal suffix nearly always functions as either a personal pronoun, for example, I or me in English, or a possessive pronoun, for example, my or mine in English. Right? In this case, this is not used as a possessive. All right. In this case, this pronominal suffix refers to a person or things and can be attached to nouns, verbs, prepositions, participles, infinitives, even some particles, letting you know that this is in a certain thing. All right. That's why it says therein. All right. Then you have ashar, meaning which or that. All right. So it's relative. Then la'ah, meaning not. Remember, this is what your la looks like in the Assyrian. This is what your ah looks like in the Assyrian. Yabawa'a, Aimanya, Wa Mawa'abaya, Bakwahal, Ha Alahai. So all together the sentence says right here. Bayawam Hawa'a Nakora Basapar, Mashah, Ba'azanya, Ha'aim, Wana Mataza'a, Kathawab, Bawa, Ashar, La'a, Yabawa'a, Aimanya, Yama'a, Slakewa, Wamawa Abaya, Bakwahal, Ha'alahayam, Aid, Iwalam. All right. So this is how the sentence will sound in the Hebrew. Bayawam, Hahawa'a, Nakora, Basapor, Mashah, Ba'azanya, Ha'aim, Wanamataza'a, Katawa, Bawa, Ashar, La'a, Yabawa'a, Aimanya, Mawa'abya, Sake Mawa'aba, Sake Mawa'abya, Makwahal, Ha'alahayam, Aid, Iwalam. One more time. Bayawam, Hahawa'a, Nakora, Basapor, Mashah, Ba'azania, Ha'aim, Wanamataza'a, Kathawa, Bawa, Ashar, La'a, Zabawa'a, Aimanya, Wamawa'abaya, Bakwahal, Ha'alahayam, Aid, Iwalam. All right. So remember, it's very important, very, very important when it comes to learning the Hebrew. The Hebrew is something very important to learn, something very important to understand, like something very important. You do not want to not know the Lahsawan Qadash. You want to learn the Hebrew. The Hebrew is something very important. You do not want to take it lightly. All right? Do not take it lightly. Do not take it for granted. This is our culture. This is a part of our heritage. Do not forget to learn this Hebrew. You want to learn this Hebrew. All right? Study. You want to know the Hebrew because this is what's going to help you understand the scriptures. You understand? Like that's why that's why when we were just reading here, we were able to understand Nehemiah chapter 1 so in detail, right? Just by going to Blue Letter Bible and understanding the Hebrew. Remember, Bayawam, Hawa'a, Nakara, Basapar, Mashah, Ba'azanya, Ha'aim, Wanamataza'a, Kathawa, Bawa, Ashar, La'a, Yabawa'a, Aimanya, Wamawa'abya, Bakwahal, Ha'alahayam, Aid, Iwalam. You understand? You see? Very important. Very important. So don't forget. All right, with that, that's the class. I say Shalom Israel, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander Junior Hanna. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. And with that, I say Shalom.